Hello, everyone. My name is Ed Matlock. I'm a real estate investor. I've been buying houses for almost 30 years. And my very first home was a multi unit. I was out looking for a single family for my very first home to buy a house. And I came across a real estate program. And I was having some issues with the bank and some issues with the realtors because I was 23 years old. None of them were taking me serious about buying real estate. So one day I seen this real estate course that came on, and I said, you know what, let me buy this course because it might be able to answer some of these questions I have because I know I should be able to buy a house. I really wanted to buy a house, everyone. And I just kept getting this negative from everyone I would ask. Why? Because they felt like I was just too young to be trying to buy a house. I was 22 when I was looking. And by the time I bought my house, I had just turned 23. So it was like 3 or 4 months after I bought the program. I had just turned 23 then. But anyway, I bought that course off TV, and I just couldn't wait for it to get in the get mailed to me or however way it came. And when I got it, I opened this book up, and I mean, literally, I went through this book, and it took me about a month to go through it and see what is in here that could be beneficial to me. So anyway, the first chapter was exactly why I bought it. Because the ad on the TV program said, "Buy your first home or investment property with little to no money down," and I was like, "That sounds like me." Why? Because I'm young. I had a really good job, and I was saving money up because I knew I wanted to buy a house, but I didn't have a lot to save. And at that time, I was just anxious because I really wanted to move into a home somewhere where it had a garage. Because I lived in Chicago and it snowed, and I hated snow. And I would hate to have to go out there and unshovel my car every single day in the winter. So I was thinking about buying a house that had a garage so I can keep my car, secured and not full of snow all the time. So anyway, um, I bought a 2 unit that I knew I was going to convert to a 3 unit because in the program it was talking about the advantages of buying a, a multi unit over a single family. Here's the advantage with buying a multi unit. If it's your very first time thinking about buying real estate, here's why you should think about it. Okay. It is not something you have to do, but it is something to think about because why? It's only part time. I mean, you can decide to move at any time and go get another house and another house and another house. It doesn't matter. But for your very first investment property, if you're thinking about buying in that way, um, you can have assistance from that particular property helping you pay for the house. And here's how it goes: when you buy a house, a multifamily, there's tenants. They're all paying rent. And the program that I bought, the real estate program I bought, it said set the closing on the sixth day or seventh day of the month, because by then the tenants have paid the rent, and anything that the landlord collected, he has to turn over to you because you have ownership from the day you take over. So let's say if he collected the rent on the first or the fifth, and by the seventh, I took over ownership because that's the day we set the closing. He owes me all that rent for the last from the 7th to the 30th of the month. So what they do is they just take 30 days, divide it in, that money into 30 days and figure out what the daily cost is. And he keeps that and the rest I keep. So that gets thrown into the pot at the title company when we get ready to do the closing. Plus, the landlord has security deposits. All of that has to be turned over to me at the closing. So that's adding more money into my closing costs. So it's actually lowering down my cost to close on the house. And then, secondly, there's loans that qualify you as if you were buying a single family home. They still work for a 1 to 4 unit property. Okay. And at that time, it was called a Title One loan. Today, it's called a first time home buyer loan. And there's so much advantage. The same advantages back then are still today. The very same advantages. You can come in as little money down as possible. Buying a multi-unit helps you pay down your amount of money you're going to need to put up. And then if you're buying it with an FHA, first-time home buyer program, you don't need much money as it already is. And here's one more thing to think about. Wow, this is the good one. What really got me excited about buying a multifamily versus a single, and that's what the book did. It changed my whole mind about thinking about buying a single family. Is the income off that property? The banks tally up. They know I'm moving in, and I told them what I'm doing. I'm buying a 2 unit, and the basement I'm going to convert it into an apartment. And I'm going to live in that apartment. I'm going to make it into my own little loft, and I'm going to live rent free. They knew what I was doing. So they calculated up what the rents would be if I collected based on the rental rate at that time. Um, and they calculated it up and figured it out for the whole year. And guess what that did? That increased my income of what I was already making, which that helped me qualify for the property. So anyway, there's an advantage at buying multi-unit. Then there's people saying, "Oh, I would never want to live in a multi-unit." Well, I'm not asking you to invest in a multi-unit because I want you to move in it. I'm telling you to invest in it because it makes money for you. Same with the home. A home is a very good investment as long as you're not living in it. But if you're living in it, it's not an investment, it's a liability. It's pretty much eating your pocket away because you got to maintenance, you have to pay mortgages on it, and you don't get anybody helping you out with that. So it's really not an investment. It's just really a liability. And that's what I understood too in that real estate course. It was talking about the difference between, a liability and an asset. And an apartment is considered more of an asset than a single family home, especially if you're going to be living on the property. And in order to get an FHA loan, you have to live in that property. So you can't get an FHA loan and not live in the property. And then you're losing the advantage of that program. See, when it's a multi-unit apartment building, you can live in that one apartment and have all these other people paying you rent, which is basically going to pay off that mortgage, 20, 30 years from now. So anyway, that's just one little trick on how to use a simple little real estate way to go out and buy a property and how to think about the advantages of buying your very first. So that's how it worked for me. And like I said, I didn't buy the course because I was thinking about buying real estate. I really bought the program because I was trying to figure out how do I get a loan to buy me my very first home. So anyway, I got the bug, and that real estate program sat on the shelf probably for about 8 months because when I went into that apartment 2 unit in order to convert it, I did all the work myself. I go to work, come back home. I sat down, looked at what I wanted to change, and I started building walls. And then I had someone come in and do the electric, and then it already had a shower in it. And that's what made me think, man, this basement can be a converted loft apartment for myself. So I didn't have to do any plumbing because the plumbing was already done. Now the washing machine and dryer, oh man, that's what was the bummer. So what I did was I had them drill a hole through the brick so we could put the washer and dryer hookups outside of the basement into the stairway that would take you up to each level of the apartment building, and then that way they still had access to washers and dryers that they can, hook up to and wash their clothes. I paid the water, and they paid everything else. Oh, and then I had an electric meter added to the house, and man, voila! I lived rent free like that for about 6 years. It was great. As a matter of fact, I put the money that I collected from the rents in the bank and I saved it and I just used my regular income to pay for it as if I was living there. So it was awesome. But anyway, 8 months later, I finished this project and then I got the bug and I remember the real estate course was talking about, uh, driving around in the neighborhood to find good deals. So I was thinking, let me see what's over here because, I'm gonna start putting some more money aside, and I might be interested in buying another property because the money I was getting off this property, I was just putting that away for, I don't know. I was just saving it. And then I still had my income. It was over and above what I was paying on the house. So I really wasn't being affected because I actually moved out of an apartment that cost more than the house cost me to live in it. That was only costing me $35 a month. Okay. And, well, actually costing me nothing because the first, it was costing me with one tenant, I was paying, I think, $75 a month. And then once I put a tenant in the first floor, then I had like a 200 something or $300 a month cash flow on that property. And that's what I was saving. But anyway, I looked at I started riding around, and then I found an apartment building just around the corner. And I called the realtor that his sign was in the front yard. And I went back and forth with him, and we kept talking. And he just wouldn't, finagle some deals with me. And so I put that on the back burner. And then again, I was driving the neighborhood again, and I found another house up the street. And this is a single family that I thought I wanted to rehab this thing. This thing here was scary. It had a lot of work it needed. But anyway, I was new at it, and I didn't know much about repairing stuff back then. But uh, I seen these people out all the time. And so one day I just pulled over and I told him, I says, hey, my name is Ed Matlock. I live up the street, which was 3, 4 blocks down, on the same street, but about 4 blocks down. I said, I see you guys are always out here. Have you ever thought about, your roof is, your shingles are blowing off, and your wood, you know, looks like you're placing a paint job. And he thought I was a contractor, and I was like, my mentality was I was a contractor, but that wasn't my reason for going to him. He's like, no, we're not thinking about doing any repairing. I says, well, the reason why I ask is I'm an investor. And I bought a property up the road, and I noticed that your house is sitting in the middle of all these other houses. Everyone's starting to spend money and fix them up. Have you ever thought about selling your house? And he's going, no, 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 I'm not interested in selling. And then he says, but we might be one day, but right now we're not thinking about it doing it. And for some reason, he just said, well, hold on for a minute. I guess somebody inside was in there, and he went to talk to him, and they invited me in the house. So anyway, I go in the house, and what do I see as I go in? Ooh, I walk up these stairs, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is awesome. I'm gonna be able to buy me another house. Um, and they might be motivated because this house needs a lot of work. But anyway, as I come in, here's the front room, really nice front room. And then you keep going, here's a bathroom, and then voila, it blows into a kitchen. And then you got a bedroom and a bedroom and one more bedroom at the back. Um, but as I'm in that kitchen, I'm looking down. They have wood flooring, okay, with the planks, little bitty ones. They have like 5 or 6 of them missing. You can actually see through the floor into the basement. I'm thinking to myself, when I seen that, these people are motivated. Even if he told me he's not motivated, this guy is motivated. So I'm going to figure out a way to talk to him and see if he's interested in selling this house. So anyway, I said my goodbyes to him. I left him my information. I said, if you're ever thinking about, selling the house, please let me be the first one to make an offer to you. And, here, take my card. And that was it. I left. And I'm not sure how we got back in touch with each other again. I think he called me, or I might have called him. But anyway, it's been so long. This has been a long time ago. Anyway, I ended up getting with the owner and end up, picking up the property, getting it under contract. Now, in the time I put it under contract and decided really, he called me because at that point I knew that place was a disaster and I didn't have a lot of money, and I was thinking, man, that place needs a ton of money. But if he offers to sell it to me, I'm going to figure out a way to get it. He ended up calling me. So anyway, I go down there, I put an offer on the house after talking to him for a little while, telling him everything that's wrong with the place. And man, this thing is like a ticking time bomb ready to fall over. He says, well, me and my wife, and we were wondering how much would you be willing to pay us for this house? And, and I told him, I really don't know how much I'd give you, But if I did, it'd probably be like in a $15,000 range. Because man, this house needs a lot of work. I didn't realize how much work you needed until I came inside and I seen all these things. And he's like, "Well, we might be interested in that." I said, "Okay, well, if you're interested in something like that, I'd be willing to put a contract together on it. But my contract, I can sign one with you today, and we can put up I can put a deposit, but I need some option time so I can kind of figure out how I can get this thing financed because there's a lot of work that's needed, and I don't think the bank is really going to be, happy to finance this unless I can show them I can fix it." And he was okay with it. So anyway, I took the house, put it on the contract, and I was done with it. And on my way walking back to my car, I'm thinking, man, what am I going to do with this mess? This is a messy property. It is ready to fall apart. So anyway, I got home and I just threw it on my desk and went about my day. And the next day, I went to work and I came back home, and that's when I sat down and started putting numbers to the whole thing. But anyway, I'm going to end this video with that because I can't really go into it because I'm noticing that my clock is running out. But I'm going to do a part 2 to that. So stay tuned. And I'm going to tell you exactly what happened with that deal and how I learned how to make money without any money involved. I did. I put $50 on the guy's head in order for him to take me serious and take the contract and let me put it on the property. But I'm going to tell you the part that just rocked my world. I made $10,000 and I didn't even buy the deal. So that's so you come back and watch the other video. But there's going to be a part 2, and I will talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye bye.